Hello, ladies. Welcome to Pink House Kitchen. My name is Leslie Verner, and I'm the Director of Programs for Carolina Breast Friends. And I love being able to introduce Laura Coleman. She is a breast cancer survivor, a fitness expert, and an amazing chef. And tonight, she's going to show us how to make a light Caesar salad and a spaghetti Caprese. So, Laura, thank you so much, and take it away.
Thank you, Leslie. So welcome to the Pink House virtual kitchen, not at the Pink House. So this is at my home. But as we move through the summer months, you know, it gets a little challenging to come up with some fresh and light summer dinners. So this is one of my family favorites. So especially my daughter's. This is her probably absolute favorite, like, summertime meal. I'm going to do a twist on it tonight, so I'm going to do it two different ways. So when you get the recipe, you'll see that there's the caprese, the spaghetti caprese, and then a roasted tomato recipe off to the side. And I'm going to kind of show you and walk you through how you can do it two different ways. Because when we do this, we love this cold the next day for lunch as kind of like a cold pasta salad. So it works that way. And then who doesn't love Caesar salad? So everybody loves Caesar salad. Some people love it with anchovies. Some people don't like anchovies. I am personally not an anchovy person, so I am going to eliminate the anchovies from this, but this has a lot less fat than the traditional Caesar salad. So it's not your traditional creamy Caesar, but I promise you, you're not gonna miss anything in this. So we're gonna get started. So what we're gonna start with is roasting the tomatoes, because they're gonna take about 15 to 20 minutes to roast. So I'm gonna pull in my tomatoes. I'm gonna leave this here. And I've got one package of tomatoes. So I'm cutting the recipe in half because obviously I'm going to split it between, I'm going to kind of cut the caprese spaghetti in half. So I'm cutting the roasted tomato recipe in half. So they're just grape tomatoes. And the whole reason why I kind of picked this recipe for tonight is because we went out of town over the weekend and I had a pint of tomatoes and they really started to look old, right? And worn. They were getting wrinkly, so looking old, right? So I don't want to throw them out. So this is a really good way for you to kind of preserve them, because if you roast them, you can stick them in the fridge and they're going to last another 3 to 5 days. And you can serve them, like, you can use them on a sandwich, on burgers and salads. So this is one of our favorite things to do. So I've taken that package of strawberries. They're not strawberries, they're tomatoes. And I have them in a foil lined like cookie sheet or roasting pan. And then I have 2 cloves of garlic. So I am going to kind of just release the skins, and all I'm doing is taking the back of my knife, or the flat of my knife. I'm doing a light tap on it, and it helps to release the skins, and then it'll start to peel away. So it really kind of peels it all off. I go from one side to the next, and it just slips right. It lifts right off. I'm going to do it with the next one. Get those skins to release from the garlic clove. And sometimes if it starts to stick, you just kind of like might have to play with it, but it does release pretty easily. And then at the root end, I'm just going to cut off that little root end. It's kind of like the little brown end at the end of the clove. And then you're just going to slice it. You know, you don't have to be really like perfectly like symmetrical with slices. I'm just going to slice it. So I have some nice, oh, I can smell it. It smells so good. I love the smell of garlic. Unfortunately, it makes your hands pretty stinky. So lemon juice is a great way to kind of get the smell of the garlic off your hands. So I'm going to take this and I am going to throw it into my, I know it says in the recipe, it'll say you know, into a bowl and mix it, but I'm all about not having to wash a lot of dishes. So I rather wash my hands than wash more dishes. So I'm going to do it this way. And then you're just going to put, I think it's about a tablespoon or two in here. And you just want to lightly coat it. So all I'm going to do is, do you want to come around? I'm going to hand this off to you and you can throw it in the oven for me. I'm just going to coat the tomatoes and the olive oil. I'm going to wash my hands very quickly. And I buy lemon scented hand soap so that it kind of gets that stink off my hands. So I'm going to salt them lightly. Oh, she put them in the oven already. I was going to hand it off to you. So I'm just going to put a little bit of salt on top. And then they go in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. So we'll check them in about 15 minutes. And while that is roasting, I'm going to walk over and I'm going to turn my water on for the pasta and get it going. So I'm going to turn my water on probably at about medium to medium low because I have a lot of other things going on, but I'm going to salt the water very generously. And I know this question has come up before. So the reason why we're salting the water is because when the pasta goes in, or before the pasta goes in, and when pasta is made, nothing is added to it. It's just whatever wheat flour is, whatever wheat or durum flour or semolina flour is used. It's just usually, unless it's an egg pasta, it's just water and flour. So there's no salt added in. So the pasta is not going to have any flavor. So as the pasta cooks in salted water, it's going to kind of, the salt is going to help draw out the flavor of the pasta. Okay, so with that being kind of this heating up, it's salted, tomatoes are being roasted, I'm going to move on to the Caesar salad. So I'm going to pull this out. Caesar salad, I'm going to get everything I need for my Caesar salad and the lettuce. Okay, and I am gonna tell you, I'm gonna start making the Caesar salad dressing first. So I'm gonna grab a bowl, and in the bowl, I'm gonna start with one garlic clove. And I took some out of the freezer, and you all know, can you grab me the other garlic? You all know I like to use the frozen garlic that's already minced. So I'm putting that garlic in here. And it looks like this if you haven't seen it before, right? Trader Joe's sells it too, so it looks a little differently in Trader Joe's. And it's in the frozen food section, and it's by the vegetables. That's where they keep it. Putting a pinch of salt in with the garlic. And then I'm just gonna mash it into a paste. And you know what's so great about this? Is that it's already in a paste. So you're just mixing the salt with the garlic and it's less work. So there we go, we've got that going. And then what I'm gonna do is I am going to add Parmesan cheese, and it's grated. So I'm gonna add chicken stock, Parmesan cheese, 2 tablespoons of chicken stock. I'm just going to put it in here, and it doesn't matter in this perspective how it goes. I don't know how the recipe kind of like talks about it, but I'm going to put about a tablespoon. I have a tablespoon. I'll just pull another one out of Parmesan cheese in. This is 2 tablespoons, so I'm going to kind of go half. So grated, because the grated is going to help kind of incorporate into the dressing. And then I am going to do about a teaspoon of Grey Poupon. I will say this, if you're using anchovies, use the full teaspoon of Grey Poupon. If you're not using the anchovies, cut back on the Grey Poupon. So I'm doing probably about 1/2 to 3/4 of a teaspoon of the Grey Poupon. I am going to do a dash or 2 of Worcestershire. Got that in. I'm going to do some sherry vinegar. I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of sherry vinegar, and that is going to be about here. And then I'm going to add some thyme. So I'm doing about a teaspoon of thyme, and in the recipe I give you conversions of, if you don't have fresh thyme, what you could use dried thyme. If you use dried thyme, it comes in, what am I saying? It comes in almost like a seed-like form. So I would rub it between your fingers and maybe give it a coarse chop before you use the dried thyme. So this is from my garden. I have like a little thyme plant. So I love thyme. So I always pretty much have that on hand. So I'm going to put the thyme in there. What else? And parsley. I don't have fresh parsley. So now I'm going to use about a teaspoon of fresh parsley, because the recipe I do know calls for about a tablespoon of fresh parsley. So I'm going to get a teaspoon of fresh parsley, put that in, dried parsley, as I was so corrected, and put that in there. And then I'm going to grab my little whisk. And start to whisk all this together. And if you like anchovy, if you like that anchovy flavor in your Caesar, you would add that in here too. And if you were doing the anchovies, what you would do is that you would kind of, you would press like the excess liquid out of them and then mash that into a paste and then add that to the dressing now. So we're here with this little mixture. You can kind of see, I don't know if you can see how it looks. I don't want to tilt too much. Can you guys see? Nod, yeah, good. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drizzle, and I'll measure, because this is, you want to be healthy about what you're doing, about your fat content and so on and so forth. Olive oil is great for you, but if you have too much olive oil, it's going to throw off your cholesterol, so on and so forth. So I'm going to measure out 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I love like my little mini cup. I love this because it measures like 1/4 of a cup. So this is 1/4 of a cup, and but you can pick out how many tablespoons you're going to use, or ounces. So I use this all the time, and I'm going to slowly drizzle this in. So you're incorporating the olive oil into the dressing for the Caesar salad. So you're trying to emulsify it, and if it doesn't completely emulsify, don't stress over it. I kind of tilt it to the side and give it a little whip. Emulsify means, oh, I don't know if you can hear my daughter, but emulsify means getting the oil to kind of blend and not separate from the rest of the ingredients. Good? Oh. All right, so there you go. So you have your dressing. I'm going to put this to the side over here. And now I'm going to get the rest of the salad ready to go. So what I've done is I've pre-washed my romaine lettuce, and I'm going to show you a little trick. You could go to the store and buy the bagged lettuce. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you could save some money and buy it in its whole form. So I washed it and dried it. And what I'm gonna do to cut it, to make things kind of work a little easier, is I'm gonna take my knife and I'm gonna come up probably to about here, right? Because you don't want the very butt of the lettuce in here. You want, come up about 2 inches. And I'm gonna take my knife and I'm gonna cut it in half that way. And I'm gonna flip it a 1/4 of a turn, and I'm gonna do it all the way through that way too. So as you're cutting it, it's already in bite-sized pieces. So I'm just gonna sit here and run my knife through it.
Laura, I have a question.
Sure.
How do you wash the romaine? Do you go inside the romaine, or do you just wash the outside of it?
Oh no, I fill my sink with water, and then I drop the romaine into the sink and I open it up. And then when I dry it upside down. So I let it sit upside down, and then all the water will come out of it. And you could throw it into a salad spinner if that's what you wanted to do. But I kind of do that, like I try to do those things when I come home from the supermarket. It doesn't always work that way, but you're
And do
already
you just use water?
I'm sorry?
Do you just use water?
Yeah, I just use water. I'm sorry, but I mean, I don't trust all that other stuff. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. I use organic products that I eat on a regular basis. If I am not eating it every day, I don't stress about it being organic, but I am a vegetarian. So anything that, and I don't eat a ton of romaine, but I did buy organic. If it's something that I eat every day, then I make sure it's organic, so I'm not so worried about pesticides. If you're worried about the whole COVID thing, that's another story. I think that's a personal kind of choice. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's so much that is unknown about COVID. So they're saying it's not transferred from food. You don't know. So I would just say you have to do what you're comfortable with.
Well, and I was mainly asking because last summer there were some recalls on romaine before the COVID. And so I just wondered if there was anything like lemon juice or anything you added to the water.
Yeah, you can't. That is if because it's spoiled in the ground while it's growing. So there's no way around that. You just can't eat it. So like the whole E. coli thing, and you're looking at it from that perspective. Yeah, that there's nothing you can do to fix that.
Yeah.
So, all right. So moving on, I'm just going to give this another little whirl. Make sure it's all emulsified. So now I'm going to toss the salad with this dressing. I'm going to put the dressing in here. And then I'm going to add about 3 more tablespoons of Parmesan. I prefer shredded Parmesan. You can do grated Parmesan, whatever you want, but I kind of like that meatiness of shredded Parmesan in here. So I'm going to throw about 3 tablespoons in here. And then I'm going to toss it. Thank you, my darling. I'm going to toss it. Then I'm going to throw some salt and pepper. I don't think it needs more salt. Typically, especially if you're putting anchovies in there, unless you're like a big salt person, but so toss it. I do love crushed red pepper in here, and I actually really like, not crushed red pepper. See, that was a Freudian slip because I love crushed red pepper in here, but black pepper in here is a must. And then I always like to throw a few seeds of crushed red pepper in here. All right, so it's all combined. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my plate, and this is how I kind of add the croutons. I'm gonna put this on the plate. I'm gonna put this here, and then this here. And this is 6 servings. So what we've made is about 6 servings. And I will say, I know the recipe that I wrote says like fresh young romaine, but what I found at the market wasn't very young, so I did 3 heads because there was a ton of green leafy stems in the lettuce. So here we go. And then my favorite, absolute favorite croutons are from Trader Joe's. They are the best tasting croutons, and I do this because I don't really like making them. If there's bread in my house, I really don't have any left over to make croutons with, but they're super big. So I'll take them and break them up. Like you can see, look at the size of that crouton. It's bigger than my 3 fingers put together. So I'll just break it up and put it on top. And I don't mix it in because then they get really soggy, but I love the crunch of the croutons. And I'll throw some on here just kind of for looks. And then I'll put them in a bowl to serve. So if anybody else wants some extra croutons, they can have it. And then you're just gonna finish it off, and I'm just gonna do what I like because I'm making it. Grated Parmesan goes a lot further than shredded Parmesan, but I really like shredded Parmesan. So I'm just gonna take the shredded Parmesan and just finish a little bit on top. And then I'll slide this out of the way, or you want to take it and move it with that. And okay. And I'll show you guys how it looks. I'll take that out so you can see. It's super pretty. And then there you go. Nice. Okay,
That looks delicious.
I'm gonna put it to the side. Perfect. And you will take these. I'm gonna put them in here, rinse them because I'm gonna use them again. Oh, she said she tasted it and it's delicious. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is the water's going. I'm gonna check the tomatoes to kind of see if they're popping and bursting at the skins and starting to brown. So give me 2 seconds. They are not, so I'm gonna let them go about another 5 minutes, and I'm gonna move on to the pasta. So the pasta water is boiling, but I'm gonna get everything else ready. So I'm gonna start with the tomatoes. So I do this 2 different ways, like I was saying. I do it with roasted tomatoes, and then I do it with fresh tomatoes. So I'm gonna not use all of these tomatoes because I'm kind of cutting the recipe in half. So I'm gonna just take the tomatoes, and I have a bowl, and I am gonna start to slice them. I'm gonna cut them in half because you want everything kind of like bite-sized. And I'm using like heirloom tomatoes today. Use whatever tomatoes you can find. And I just love the colors of heirloom tomatoes for this. So if they're bigger, quarter them. So this one is kind of like a bigger tomato. So this one, I'm gonna quarter it. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna take that way. I bought a new cutting board at Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm gonna plug my new cutting board because the cutting board has like these little, I love it. I'll show you when I'm done. I should have showed you before, but it's got these little rubber feet on both sides. So one side, I always have a stinky board and a non-stinky board, right? So my stinky board is for like garlic and onion and anything that has strong flavors. So my stinky board has it's not there. I don't. My stinky board has a flat side, so I'm like, oh my gosh, that's great for onions and garlic and anything that's stinky. And then the flip side is for meat. Not that I eat it, but my husband does. So on the flip side, if he's carving meat, it has that little well around the outside of the edge and it catches the juice, but it's got rubber feet on both sides so it never slips. So I'm super excited. And it goes in the dishwasher. Because what do I hate doing? Washing dishes. Not my favorite thing. That's why I had children. Not that they like washing dishes either, but everybody's got to earn their right to be in the kitchen, right? All right, so I've cut probably about half of these tomatoes. I'll move them off. I'm going to do one more just because there's nothing wrong with like having a ton of vegetables, right, in your pasta. So I'm going to slide that off to the side. The other thing that goes in here is fresh mozzarella. So I did the tiny little, I don't even know what they're called. It's not bocconcini because bocconcini is really big, but these are these little pearl size like mozzarella balls. And then I cut those in half. Use whatever you can find. It really should be fresh mozzarella, and it's 8 ounces for 6 servings. So you can buy, you know, you can buy the bocconcini or the ovoline and just cut it into bite-sized pieces. So buy whatever works for you. I cut mine in half. So this is like typically the size of like a regular one. It's super tiny, pearl sized, but I like it even smaller. So I cut those in half to save some time. So I'm going to start with the kind of like the marinade for the tomatoes and the mozzarella. So we're going to start with a garlic clove, which I have right here, and I'm going to put it in here. And I know I'm doing half, but I don't know. I almost think like I would do 2 garlic cloves if I was doing the full recipe. So I have a garlic clove and a small ball. I'm going to add a little bit of, it says like 1/4 of a teaspoon of crushed red pepper. I'm just going to take a pinch and put it in there. This is not, you don't have to put crushed red pepper if you don't want it. I'm going to check the tomatoes. Oh, tomatoes look good. So you can see the tomatoes, right? They're starting to caramelize and the skins have kind of popped and they're releasing the juices and super, super yummy, I promise. I'm going to put this to the side, let them cool. I'm going to move that back a little further. Thank you. And then finish with this. Okay, so I got the pepper flakes in there. I'm going to do half the olive oil. I'm going to do about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. I am going to do, oh, you know what? I'm going to cut this first before I put in. So I have about 1/4 cup, because again, I am cutting the recipe in half, and I'll do this twice, of basil. It smells so good. So my husband decided to put like a garden in the backyard, and there was basil and mint and zucchini and cucumbers, and the zucchini and cucumbers are overtaking the yard. So they've smothered the basil. It's hard to kill mint, right? The mint is thriving, but so I was able to use the mint from the yard, but not the basil. So I had to go buy basil. So I'm gonna kind of coarsely chop the basil. And then that's gonna go in. So about 1/4 cup of basil in there. And the mint, I'm gonna split. I'm gonna do about 1/8 of a cup of mint, and this mint is really strong, so I think I might even do less, because the garden, you know, if it's fresh from your garden, the flavors are way more intense. So I'm definitely going to do less. And it's just a coarse chop. Don't worry about the size. This is a very rustic dish. The only thing I would do with the mint is maybe chop it a little finer than the basil, because it's pretty potent. So now I'm going to add that in to here. I'm going to add a pinch of salt, and then some crushed black pepper, or ground black pepper. And I'm going to take a spoon and just kind of mix it all together. So this is not like a sauce. I'll show you what it looks like. This is a really big bowl, but I'm going to add these tomatoes, and it's all going to kind of come together. You'll see. So the tomatoes that I cut, and then I'm going to take half of the mozzarella that I cut up, because I'm going to use the other half and the other recipe that has the what's it called? The roasted tomatoes. Down. Let's just put it this way. So I'm gonna mix it all up. So it looks like a caprese salad, right? If you were just to use like tomatoes and mozzarella, mix it all up, get all those flavors incorporated. All right. So simply just looks in the bowl like that. I'm going to put it to the side, and then I'm going to cut up the rest of the mint, because now I'm going to mix this with the roasted tomatoes. So I have the rest of the mint. And again, I'm going to chop this up. And I will say this, if you're not like really comfortable with a knife, use scissors. You know what I mean? Because you could take, everybody's kind of got those meat shears in their knife set. Use scissors. Or I mean, there's all sorts of tools out there that you could use. All right, there's the mint. I'm going for the rest of the basil. I think I was like a little heavy on the basil in that one, but so basil is sweet and aromatic. I'm really not worried about having like, you know, it chopped finer. This, I would say, definitely go for a rough chop. So here we go. So we've got that going. So again, there's olive oil and garlic already in the tomatoes that we roasted. So I have them here. So I'm just going to take those now, and I'm going to put them in another bowl, much smaller bowl, with the shaved, you know, the sliced garlic. Probably should have done this the other way. So I'm going to flip it, because this is going to be a lot easier to work in this bowl. There we go. So now I'm going to put the roasted tomatoes in here. Sorry if I've got this kind of like blocking you guys, but maybe if I go this way, it'll work better. So you can see as they're coming down, right? You can see how the juices are releasing from the roasted tomatoes. The garlic's all caramelized, super yummy. I'm going to add the herbs. was a little bit of salt added. I tend to kind of like not put a ton of salt in because it's really hard to take out if you put too much in. So I rather err on the light side and not put a ton of salt in. So I'm going to add some pepper and a little crushed red pepper because we love crushed red pepper. And then just a smidgen of olive oil to help bring it together. And then the rest of the leftover mozzarella. And again, just mix it all together. So there we go. I'm going to put this off to the side because the last thing I'm going to do is the spaghetti. I'm going to clean off my cutting board and I'm going to pull out some chicken and some shrimp. So my family is very interesting. So my daughter, as you know, my daughter's living here until next week and she's moving out. Thank God, don't tell her I said that. No, I've loved having her here. But I'm vegetarian. My husband eats meat and fish. My daughter does not eat fish. She'll eat like maybe a piece of shrimp, but she doesn't love it. And this is an easy way for me to kind of like make everybody happy because who doesn't love pasta? So what I'm doing is I'm going to run to the fridge and grab and it's super easy. So I've pulled out what is a serving of shrimp and a serving of chicken. So the chicken is, I've decided to do chicken tenders. And then the shrimp, one serving of shrimp is like 6 shrimp. But the seasoning that I'm going to put on the shrimp and chicken goes both ways. So I'm going to grab I'm going to just use this. So I'm going to take this out here. So I have a small bowl. And in the small bowl, I'm just going to add maybe a tablespoon, and I won't use all of it, of olive oil. And then this perfect pinch, I don't know if you've all seen like Italian seasoning. I'm going to put about 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning in here. And then I am going to add a touch of salt. And then I'm going to add my lemon juice. So I'm going to add some lemon juice, toss it. I'm going to get my little whisk. Then the other thing I'm going to do is I am just going to wash my hands real quick and just kind of like taste this for seasoning. Because I always kind of like worry about dried seasonings and how long they've been in the fridge or in the pantry. Well, it's really nice, but I think it needs garlic. So I'm not going to pull out, I'm going to pull out a piece of garlic. And I'm going to use half of it. I'm not going to use the whole thing. And what I love about this is I throw half of it in here and I'm going to mash it with the back of a spoon to kind of get it to incorporate or emulsify. And when it's hot and humid, it melts really fast. In the wintertime, this would not happen. All right, so it's kind of mashed. I'm just gonna whisk it in. And then I'll take this one. Way better. So it definitely needed some garlic. And then all I'm going to do is take my pastry brush. I'm going to paint them with the seasoning, and then flip everything over and do the other side. So this works out for me. Like if I was at the Pink House, obviously I would do a lot more, but I have my daughter who will eat the chicken, my husband who prefers shrimp, and me who doesn't want anything to do with meat. So there you go. So all nice and seasoned. So you can see, you like that, right? Right, got a nice little amount of seasoning on them. And I'm gonna get my pan ready. Can you guys see over here, or do I need to move it? Oh, okay, move all this out of the way. I can take this way. I actually can probably move all this over here and pull it back when I need it. So I'm gonna turn on my pan. And then I love, you know, the spray extra virgin olive oil, because you can really control how much is on there. I'm just gonna put a ton, just a little bit on to make sure that it doesn't stick. I've got my tongs, and then I am actually gonna use the little brush that I was using before to make sure that it's nice and coated. And I'm gonna cook it in the same pan. And the only reason why I can cook it in the same pan is like, honestly, there's so little here, nothing's gonna touch. So I'm gonna have you put this back in the freezer and put this to the side. All right, and I'm gonna bring this over, and then I'm gonna set them in here. My shrimp on one side, they're starting to sizzle. So the pan is nice and hot. And the shrimp is definitely gonna finish before the chicken. So we're gonna let it go. So I'm gonna let it sit there until like the chicken gets nice and golden on one side, probably about 3 to 4 minutes, and then I'll flip it. The shrimp is probably gonna go about 1 to 2 minutes, but I'll take it off and then throw it back on just before I'm ready to serve. So my water is at a full boil. I've salted it. And now I get to talk about pasta. So today I bought Trader Joe's organic, just plain pasta. It's organic semolina, which is a wheat pasta. It's not a whole grain pasta, but a serving size is only 2 ounces. And pasta is meant to be more of a side dish than it is to be like a main dish. But in today's world, you kind of go to the supermarket and you're at the mercy of what's on the shelves. So there was no whole grain pasta on the shelf. And quite honestly, if I'm going to eat pasta, I prefer the taste of just regular old pasta as opposed to whole grain pasta. It's kind of like one of those things where you talk about eating something in moderation, right? And for me, this is where moderation kicks in. I rather eat it this way than eat like whole wheat spaghetti. It's not my favorite thing. I've tried it 100 different ways and not good. Do you like it? Yeah, my daughter's shaking her head no, and she's like, it's tough. Exactly. But if you eat it, and oh, there we go, nice. I'll show you a picture as soon as I can get it. I'm just flipping the shrimp. And then I'm just checking the chicken. It has like another minute or second to go. One is done, the other needs a little more time. But I just prefer regular pasta. Just kind of whatever works for you. All right, so this is cooking. The shrimp's cooking. I can put this away because this is done. I'm gonna get a strainer because I forgot to get that out. The pasta. All right, that's ready to go. Anybody have any questions? Did I say 2 ounces of pasta is a serving size? So, right, so 1 box of pasta is supposed to typically feed 6 people. I mean, yeah, 6 people. Gosh, my math was challenged there for a bit. And you're gonna cook the pasta to al dente, and when it's about 3/4 of the way done, I'm gonna pull out some pasta water to finish the dish. Shrimp is looking good. You're gonna cook it till it's about opaque. And it gets really caramelized. You can grill this too if you want to grill it. I would just kind of thread it onto 2 skewers so that they all stay together, and you can grill it on a grill at home. And I'll pull out a dish. All right, I'm gonna pull the shrimp off. Is it done? Huh? No. Smell-o-vision. So you can see how it's got like a nice little caramelization on the ends, and it's opaque. So there's no more pink. It's kind of like that opaque color. I'm going to keep it to the side. And then I'll get a separate dish for the chicken. And the chicken, I'm just making sure as I press it down that the juices that are coming out of the chicken are clear. There's no color to the juices coming out of the chicken. So now the meat's done. All I'm gonna do, honestly, is I'm just gonna take a piece of foil and I'm gonna tent it. Whew. Last piece of foil. That back, give the pasta a stir. Turn it up a bit. There we go. And it's probably got maybe another 4 minutes. So, oh, my strainer. Flat. Not flat. My favorite strainer. So saves, you know, my kitchen is kind of on the small side compared to what I do on a daily basis. So I'm always looking for space savers. This was like a lifesaver when it came to like having a strainer. So anyway, any questions? Yet, nothing? All right, let's get this kind of going. I'm gonna pull out some serving dishes. I have my roasted, I have this, I've got this here, I don't know this, and then I'm gonna slide. And then I'll show you how this kind of folds out as the pasta continues to cook. I toyed with doing like a healthy dessert, and I wasn't so sure that I would be able to pull it off in the amount of time that we had, but I'm looking and I'm like, dang, maybe 10 more minutes we could have pulled it off. But maybe, you know what I'll do, Leslie? I'll type it up because it's, I love chocolate and coconut, and it's just a healthy version of a coconut macaroon. It's made with egg whites and honey instead of sugar and condensed milk. And then you dip them in dark chocolate, super yummy. They're maybe about 100 to 150 calories per bite. So if you wanted to, per serving, I meant, well, I put the whole thing in my mouth, so it's per bite, and I'm like a chipmunk. But, and you want them smaller, you can make them smaller. You want them bigger, you make them bigger. But it really is like a nice kind of healthier dessert. You know what I'm saying? So maybe
sounds delicious.
Maybe I'll have my daughter like do like I'll have everything prepared, and it could be like a 10-minute like speed video that we could attach to this segment.
Okay, that'd be great. Oh, absolutely.
Good. All right, so let's talk about spaghetti or pasta. You've seen a lot of people want to throw oil in the water. You don't want to throw oil in the water. They think they're throwing oil in the water is going to kind of keep everything from sticking. You want the starches to release from the pasta, which is why we don't put any oil in it while it's cooking. And I always reserve some of the pasta water to help create my sauces for when I'm cooking. And the starches that are released into the water just adds a real flavorful kind of aspect or element to your dish. So the only way I can tell if pasta's done is by pulling one out. I'll pinch it with my fingers, kind of look in and taste it. It's still a little gritty in the center, so I want to give it maybe another minute or so. And that's when you get your glass of wine, because I always cook with a glass of wine. I'm sorry, my glass of wine. And you take a sip while the pasta's cooking.
Have you ever heard the trick about throwing a piece of pasta against the wall?
Yeah, I'm a neat freak. That would not, I've heard it, and it does work.
It works, and if it sticks, it's ready.
It does, right. But see, now if you put olive oil on it, what would happen?
It'd fall off.
It'd slide down the wall. So anyway. So a thin spaghetti is what really works best with this, but honestly, we've done this with fettuccine, we've done it with pappardelle, we've done it with penne. I would say penne wasn't the best because the pasta was too big, but like elbow macaroni or fusilli would be good, or little cavadille. It's kind of like a shell pasta that is cinched real thin and folded over. So you can put this honestly on any pasta and it would be really, really nice. So let's see if this is, I can tell if I pinch it. So I want it al dente because it's going to go back in the pot, and this is good. So I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to drain it. And then I'm not going to drain it. I'm going to grab some of the pasta water. So I'm just going to take, I don't know, I took about a cup. I know I'm not going to use it, but I rather have more than less. And then I am going to drain my pasta. Yeah, I got it. All right. And then I'm going to put it back into the pot. And then I'm going to throw it back onto a low flame. So kind of like a simmer. And then I'm going to add the olive oil. And it's only about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm going to incorporate the olive oil into the pasta. And as it heats up, I don't think I put this in the recipe, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the black pepper. I'm going to add some black pepper here, because this is kind of like almost an element of cacio e pepe. If you've ever made cacio e pepe, you kind of do that at this point. So, and then I'm going to, you can hear it start to sizzle. Once it starts to sizzle, I'm going to take the pasta water and I'm going to add it just a little bit at a time and just continue to toss. And it creates a sauce, believe it or not. So the starch from the pasta, the olive oil, it starts to create like a little sauce here. I'm gonna add a little more black pepper because I think it could use some. And a little more water. And now it's hot. All right. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna divide this amongst 2 plates. I'm gonna do the one that is gonna be for tomorrow, because this will be our lunch, I'm going to take half of my spaghetti. I'm going to put it on my tray. Turn it off. And there we go. So this is 3 servings in here. And I will say if you're a man, you do get to have a little more than a female. So I guess a male is allowed about 3.5 ounces from a nutritional perspective, as opposed to a female gets 2. All right. And then all you're going to do is kind of ladle the tomatoes over the top, and the cheese will start to melt into the pasta, and it's just super yummy. And I like to go a little more overboard with the vegetables, so I put more in here because, you know, that's my thing. And it's a little more filling. So I'll give it a little kind of pull through. And then here on top. And there you go, Caprese pasta. That's one aspect of it. I wish you could smell it. It's so good. So I'm gonna put this to the side. Were you guys able to see that? Cool. And then what I'm gonna do with the other is I'm gonna take the rest of the pasta. How's it taste? Good. And then I can just put that into here. Take this off. Can you see this bowl? I'm looking at little squares, so it's hard for me to see what you can see and what you can't see, but I'll do this. All right, here we go. All right. And then I'm going to take the roasted tomatoes and put that on top. With the mozzarella. And then I'm going to take on this one a little bit of crushed red pepper. Finish that on top. A little, where'd it go? Thank you. Some grated Parmesan. And you would put the Parmesan on the other one too. So you could eat that now. So I would say this is my winter version. That's my summer version. And I'll do this. And then what, I'll just kind of mix it in. And there you go. And then I'll show you how I serve it. And then it'll go out to my husband who's on the deck. So you can see, nice. All right, so how am I gonna serve this? Let's get a plate. We'll pull the Caesar out. Because you think you would put like the meat on top of the pasta. You could do it a couple of ways. The meat can go on top of the pasta, but I think it works better on top of the Caesar with if you're eating the chicken. If you're eating the pasta, I think the shrimp works better on top of the pasta. So this is my husband. So I am going to wear the, oh, okay, I'll get new ones. I'll do this and this. So I'm going to take the shrimp. I'm going to take, for him, Oh, that's a lot. That's way too much. Pasta. Yeah, I'm gonna do it all on one plate for him. Get all the goods on there. And then I'm gonna take some of the Caesar. Yeah, I probably should have done it in a full plate. And his Caesar on the side. There we go. And that's a big plate of food. It is a lot. I mean, and it's for him, the pasta is about 3 ounces of pasta. So there you go. You can take that out to your father.
Shrimp.
Oh, crud, the shrimp. Oh, and then what I might do is maybe squeeze like a little bit of lemon juice over the top. Using my fingers. Yeah. So there we go. Maybe a little more crushed red pepper in his. No, the real lemon. Yeah, I do. In the drawer. Just over the pasta. We do. Thank you. Just a little squeeze. Because lemon always kind of helps to intensify the flavors and bring out the flavors in food. So there you go. That's one dish. The next one I will show you. I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to take that out. Yep. Next one I'll do a little differently. I'm going to do in a bowl. So take a third of this. There we go. Get all the good stuff in here on top. Tomatoes and the mozzarella. There's a ton of protein in mozzarella too, just so you know, like what I'm putting on here is a serving. There's about 6 grams of protein in the mozzarella that's on here. And I would finish this with a little crushed red pepper for Emily. And then I would also do a little Parmesan. Oh, he's giving me this in his bathing suit. So grated Parmesan or shredded, whatever you want. And then I'm going to take a small plate for her salad. A little more in here. So there's the pasta. And then I would serve it with the, let's see what you can see. It's hard to see what you can see. Some more of the Caesar salad, but with the Caesar salad, I'm going to top that with chicken. And I'm going to take the chicken and I will cut it. No. Just kind of like a nice little kind of and then I'll serve that kind of on top. So it's almost like a little mini chicken Caesar. So there you go. And she's gonna go eat. There you go. You guys have any questions?
I wish we were eating dinner with you tonight.
Oh my gosh, me too. How fun would it be if we could do that again at the Pink House? Right?
There'll come a day, hopefully soon.
I know, hopefully soon. Kind of clean my hands, and it's good. So I know you guys want this, so take it. So any questions?
No, it's great though. I never thought of doing the chicken and the shrimp too. That's awesome.
You know, and it's anything that you kind of want to do. I mean, trying to think of what else. I mean, you could do like a nice piece of tilapia to serve with this, and you could do, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me because I'm going off of experiences of what I've eaten from a meat perspective, but I haven't been eating meat for, I'm coming up on 5 years in September, so 4.5 years. So I don't know, is there another meat that you would eat with this? I think this is good without meat as well. Like I honestly, there are about 7 grams of protein in the pasta alone, 6 grams of protein just in the mozzarella, and then there's always like maybe about another gram of protein in the vegetables, like the tomatoes and so on and so forth. So we're at about 14 grams of protein,
Which
plus
is a lot,
a little
yeah.
more in the Caesar salad. So
I'm a meat eater and I prefer it without meat. But if you do
It sounds, I wish we could smell it.
they can. Here, I'm gonna take this out. Can I put my other one in? So Emily wants to talk here.
I don't want to talk, I'm just telling you.
Here, let's see if you can. Good. Can you?
Not yet.
Oh boy. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
I'm not a huge meat eater either, but I do eat it. I prefer this without any meat in it because I think it's really hearty, especially with the mozzarella and tomato in it. But we've tried it with a couple things, and I think the grilled chicken is the best in it.
well, because she doesn't like shrimp, but
I don't like, but he loves the shrimp in it. The people who do shrimp, if you do seafood, the shrimp is
yeah,
delicious in it.
the shrimp works really well with it. So
And the chicken also works well cold.
yeah.
So if you want to do it as like the salad version,
the next day, just add the chicken into it. Yeah, definitely. So
Laura, have you tried other vegetables besides the tomatoes?
you can, like, you could put some zucchini in there. You can throw eggplant in there. That's kind of like, I always say that, asparagus, peas. I mean, corn I would stay away from maybe, but
it's just the Caprese version.
yeah, this is just a Caprese version. You can take the sauce and not do the tomatoes and the mozzarella and change it out and do I would do grilled vegetables though. I would do maybe zucchini, grilled eggplant, grilled asparagus, just to kind of give it a little more flavor. And then chop it up and mix it with the
Some mushrooms.
Yeah, mushrooms would be really nice too, she said. So, and then mix it with kind of like the garlic and a little bit of olive oil that you're kind of making to throw on top. So, because the sauce is essentially made between the small amount of olive oil you're using and the pasta water. So any vegetable will work.
Okay, thank you.
It's really light and I don't know, we really like
It's filling without being too heavy.
yeah, and she said it's filling without being too heavy.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
No. Mom,
Laura, this was wonderful. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I will send everyone the recipes. Sounds good.
Perfect. All right,
Enjoy,
you guys, stay safe.
enjoy your dinner, Laura. We wish we were with you.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
All right, bye guys.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.